Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about the light cones, the free light cones that you can get Superimposition 5 up to, starting from 2.0 Panicani. It's going to be updated in the Memory of Chaos shop, the one that you can currently get like already some free to play light cones. I think it's quite interesting. They might not be the best out of all of them, but considering that it's free, you can get them to S5 and you can get multiple copies of them. I think it's worth considering, and some of them are actually quite usable, as we will see. Free-to-play players, you'll definitely be very happy with this. Let's go in order according to how it's appearing on this post. I'll share with you my thoughts on characters that can use this, what it might signal for future, and whether it's actually worth picking up, and I'll also like rank in order of my favorite towards the end of the video. If you are interested, stick around. Hope you enjoy this video too. So first one, let's talk about the Destruction Light Cone. I think it's called Flames Afar. This is probably like the effect of the subs here. When you use cumulative HP loss of wearer exceeds 25% during a single attack, loss of the wearer during a single... I guess it's the enemy hits you, or if you consume your own HP more than 25%. So straight up, characters that will use this well, that's currently in the game, will definitely be Blade. You have 25% HP down. When I think it's like a 30% when you uses the enhanced skill to like get your enhanced basic attack. The enhanced basic attack is only like 10%, but when you use that first E to get your enhanced basic attack, that's a 30% HP loss. His Blade's ultimate is also like a 50%, so you can easily proc this effect here, whatever this one is here, the next one. You immediately heal the wearer for 15% of the max HP, so you get a pretty good refund. Arlen only steps 15%, so it's kind of unfortunate, which means he can't like generate this ability. That's quite sad. So Arlen won't be able to use this. At the same time, increases damage they deal by 25%, lasting for 2 turns. This is at Superimposition 1. So the question is, if at Superimposition 5, this number here, if it goes down to like 10%, Arlen is 15%, so that's the threshold. So if this goes down to like 10% at R5 or Superimposition 5, Arlen will be able to use it because 15% is the cap. If it goes down to 10%, Blade will use it on every single basic attack, which is very, very massive. So he heals more than he loses, basically. So usually it's these bolded words that will actually improve with the Superimposition level, and the damage that they deal increases by 25%, lasting for 2 turns as well, which might make it a good contest for the other light cone in the game, which is a Secret Vow, which is of course we know is a gacha 4-star light cone. This is a pretty good alternative free to play, especially if this one goes up to like maybe 50%. Or 37.5 is like so-so, but considering it's free, I think it's a pretty good value. Can it be triggered once every 3 turns? This effect can only be triggered, they repeated it twice. Some intern forgot to delete the last line. Probably needs to get fired. No, I'm just joking. But that's for Destruction Light Cone. I think it's nice that it's a free-to-play Light Cone. Maybe Sam, they're trying to signal in future that he might be a character that accepts his own life when he's released into the game. We will see how that goes too. Definitely an interesting one. I think Blade, if this goes down low enough, Arlen is going to use it well now. Otherwise, Secret Vow probably is still better, but Secret Vow is of course gacha, so that's a key thing to note. Other than that, no other character really truly benefits from it massively. Maybe Clara if you take enough damage with Clara. But yeah. Next one, let's talk about the Hunt Light Cone, Final Victor, where it increases the wearer attack by 12% when the wearer lands a crit hit on enemies, gains this stack of good fortune that stacks up to 4 times. So you gain the stacks by crit, you can stack up to 4. Every stack of this good fortune buff has a crit damage increase by 8%. So this is very, very good. 4 times 8 is like 32% crit damage increase for Superimposition 1 Light Cone. And it's not even a debuff that's placed on the enemy, it's a buff that's placed on yourself. So you don't have to like keep hitting like the same character, you can hit like different units, you still get that buff. Of course, unfortunately, good fortune will be removed at the end of the wearer's turn. I guess it's very nice for characters that act outside of their turn order. That's really the main point of this one. At Superimposition 5, it probably might give you maybe 16% here, or let's just say, let's be a modest 12%. 12% times 4, that's a 48% crit damage buff, which is quite good for a free-to-play Light Cone. Characters that can use it probably will be maybe Yenting, but I don't know whether Yenting's attacks would be considered, unless he uses like his normal attack, and the follow-up attack that he has, the swords that rain from the sky thing, might benefit, but I don't think it would like push him into the meta. A character that could use this is Dr. Ratio. Since Dr. Ratio has a lot of follow-up attacks in his kit, I think that will be very nice for him too. So Final Victor, any of you who free to play who are like over-capping on crit rate already, from the Cruising the Stellar Sea 5-star free light cone. This might be a good option since you can get it at S5. I'll definitely be testing it out. So if you're interested, do let me know in the comments below. I'll prioritize that, but we definitely will be doing that on the channel. So characters that benefit from this really is like crit damage one that focuses on, which really that comes to mind is more of Doctor Ratio, number 1. Second one probably is Yanqing if you do not have other crit damage bonus light cones. Because if you look at it, all the Han light cones tend to be a bit more geared towards crit rate currently in the game, which is why I think this is pretty nice for Doctor Ratio. Next up, The Day the Cosmos Fell, Stratagem. This is an Erudition light cone. A lot of Erudition light cones like to give like crappy stuff like attack percentage, and this one is like more or less the same. But let's read the second effect here. When the wearer uses an attack and at least 2 attacked enemies have the corresponding weakness, the wearer's crit damage increases. This is very, very good. I think this is like super good. You tend to only bring Erudition into matches where enemy is weak to Erudition anyway. So 2 attack enemies, you probably won't be bringing like your Himiko or your Argenti or Jingyuan and stuff like that into like one solo boss. You probably will bring a Hunt instead. So I think this is a very nice uptime on your crit damage. If you look at all the other Erudition light cones in the game, they are all trash. They're all absolutely bad because none of them give them crit. Erudition characters are good if they had some sort of crit rate, crit damage light cone, and this I think is very, very attractive. Whereas crit damage increases by 20% is some value, and depending if S5 turns this into 40% crit damage, I think it's pretty strong because you can pretty much have 100% uptime of a 40% crit damage in the subs, which some people actually pull Jingyuan's signature light cone and Argenti's signature light cone for that crit damage. So this is definitely very interesting. It's a huge buff to Erudition. I am very, very interested in trying this out on a lot of current characters, and it's free. So that's very, very massive. Free players can get used to this. It definitely closes the gap between Jingyuan's signature light cone and playing Jingyuan without his signature light cone. Quite timely also because they're rerunning him too. I think they were strategizing it as well. Amazing design. So that is my thoughts on the Erudition light cone. I think out of all of them, this I have my eye on probably the most for now, but let's keep reading. Harmony light cone. Now, my expectation of Harmony light cone, unlike Erudition light cones, is a little bit higher because we have tons of other good Harmony light cones in the game, and you guys probably already know that. So let's check it out. Dreamvale Adventure. When the wearer uses either their basic attack, skill, or ultimate, all allies gains this buff called Childishness, which increases allies' damage type for the same type ability that is being used by 12%. So this long wall of text basically means if my Harmony character basic attacks, there's a damage buff for the whole team of 12% for basic attacks. At Super Imposition 5, I think this likely will go up to 24%, but it could of course be 18. So it's either 18 or 24, depends on the scaling, and different light cones are a bit different. I think this one will go up to 24. So my guess, 24% at Super Imposition 5 if they basic attack. And I think Harmony characters like to use skill. Most of them tend to use their skill a little bit. So if you time it well, this could be like a high skill cap. Like it's quite difficult to make full use of, but giving that buff generally instead of like, for example, the light cone that is Planetary Rendezvous, the one that gives same type buffs. Comparatively, it gives good amounts of damage, but this can be used for all elements. The tricky part is, are you able to time it so well so that your characters are able to get all the buffs as and when their damage spikes? Which I think means that if you use this, you're playing on manual, which I personally don't really like. I like playing on auto. It's easier, simpler. But if any of you who are like this light cone, you probably are pretty adventurous, quite high skill. I don't really like this too much for now. But of course, when more Harmony characters come out, I think it'll be pretty interesting too. So that is for that. The next up, we have Nihility light cone. It's Showtime. This is of course with Sparkle on it. So I have no... Is this Sparkle? It looks like Sparkle. I have no idea actually. I probably think it is. But why is it a Nihility light cone? I have no idea. When the wearer inflicts a debuff on the enemy, gains a stack of Trick. Every stack of Trick increases the wearer's damage by 6%. So you have up to 3 stacks, so 18% damage buff when you inflict a debuff on the enemy. This effect lasts for 1 turn, and when the wearer's effect hit rate is 80% or higher, increases attack by 20%. This is quite interesting because attack percentage here, this effect hit rate combos very nicely with the Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise Light Cone, which also gives additional attack that scales off with effect hit rate. So for any of you Black Swan havers, this becomes a viable light cone for her, because if you use that Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise, which gives you that 25% attack, if you stack effect hit rate, this on top of that gives you better scaling too. So you get high effect hit rate, you get high attack percentage from this and the relic set, and you also at the same time get damage buff from Black Swan, and it's free. This is a S5 like free light cone, so it's very, very usable too. At the same time, when you inflict debuffs on the enemy, which Black Swan does, you get 6% damage increase, which is quite healthy for just an S1. At S5, this number likely will go up to 8%, so multiplied by 3, that's like a 24% damage buff, together with a 30% attack buff. I think this is quite exciting to use. I will be testing this out for Black Swan as well, so if any of you who are interested, stay tuned to the channel. Once the patch goes live, I'll be trying it out as well, so that we can get a better judgment on all of them. Of course, these are super new light cones, so you don't have to rush into any of them. You will always find some testing videos on our channel too, and elsewhere to give you more information. I think we are left with 2 more, right? I don't want this to be a super long video, so I'll try to like move a bit quicker for the last 2. Preservation, Destiny's Threads Forewoven. In my mind, I think I was reading through all of them, and this is the one that kind of signals what the future is going to be. This, I think, is a very, very interesting light cone. Why is that? Most of the destruction or the preservation light cones are very defensive in nature, with the only exception being the DOT1 trend of Universal Market. This is an offensive light cone for preservation. You increase effect rest by 12%, that's nice, but more so, for every 100 defense wearer has, you increase the damage dealt. What this means, it tells me that there's going to be a future character that scales with defense and is going to be offensive in a sense, which is nice because most preservation units now are very defensive in nature, with the exception of maybe Mark 7, who doesn't scale very brilliantly with defense either, and Fire MC, who doesn't do massive amounts of damage either. So this could be very useful in future. I think I'm keeping an eye out of this, and its Super Imposition 1 is already like at 32%. At Super Imposition 5, this could be 48%. My guess is likely going to be like somewhere around like 48%. And if any of you are wondering, the mats adds up to base roughly around 4k defense is the cap off. I think this is worth looking at in future. This has a lot of potential. Does tell me that there might be a preservation character that is a DPS in the future. In that case, might be quite interesting too. So that's for the preservation light cone, and we are on to our last one here. This is hypothesis, what is real rather, for the abundance light cone with Gallagher in the picture. Increases the wearer's break effect by 24%. This is an abundance light cone. No, I don't think there's any like abundance character that deals a lot of break, so it could signal that there are a lot more abundance characters that are going to be doing more break in future, which is interesting. So at least you have some sort of break effect abundance build, so they're not totally in terms of no damage contribution to the team, which I think abundance could. This is a huge interesting shift for abundance characters. If they start doing like break damage, you can build break effect abundance units. After using their basic attack, restore HP for the wearer by an amount equal to 2% of their mage HP plus 800. So it just helps the wearer themselves being a bit more sustained. Maybe there's some sort of aggro draw that draws it towards the particular abundance character. This might be a Gallagher light cone, we have to see in future, but having break effect is very promising because the biggest downside of running abundance is that they contribute nearly no damage other than having some sort of skill points. This tells me that the abundance character using basic attack, it helps generate a lot of skill points too, so you don't even force them to use their skill. They can use a basic attack, basic attack, basic attack. You sustain themselves if you have some sort of like aggro draw to their character. Maybe you have Mark 7 shield or like something like increased aggro for that particular unit, and at the same time they do some break effect. Looks pretty promising. And yeah, so they just mentioned that all of these after 2.0 you can exchange for the light cones. My opinion, if now that we are at the end, I want to share with you my thoughts on what I think is the most interesting like right now. In my opinion, I think I like this one the best. I think most of you might want to consider picking this up. The reason is because the other Erudition light cones are pretty trash. The day the Cosmo fell, Erudition new light cone, I think is probably my top pick for out of all of them if I were to get anything first. The question is, are you even playing Erudition? If you are, consider picking this up. If you aren't, still consider picking it up. I think it's a buff to Erudition characters in general. Final Victor, since all of us have Doctor ratio, could be an interesting one, especially if you're capping out on crit rate. So Final Victor Hunt Light Cone will be my second pick, because it's straight away going to be likely useful. at least based on like my theory crafting right now. Interesting ones that I think could be useful in future. Destruction is decent. It's not too bad. Harmony probably will be my lowest ranking because it's a bit more trickier to run. You really have to theory craft a lot more, and for a lot of people who just want to like play the game on auto and you don't want so much complexity, this requirement of you having to like stack basic attack, skill, or ultimate could be a bit challenging for quite a lot of players. So this one, if you have high skill, you like to manual, Solidarity is definitely very interesting. Otherwise, you have other options in the gacha, light cones, of course. But then again, one thing I want to mention is a lot of us have a lot of Harmony characters that we like, but you might not have the gacha RNG to get a lot of light cones as well. So in that case, this one could still be useful for your account, even though you don't play on much manual to begin with, because you still want to have at least some usable light cones for your many Harmony characters that you're building on your account already. And yeah, that is my thoughts on all of them. I think Preservation Light Cone does signal something coming in the future, but we will of course have to see. And if you guys appreciate such content, we'll be doing more testing videos once the patch goes live. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Did I miss out anything? And are you interested in me trying out anything first? In that case, guys, do stay tuned to the channel and see you in the next video.